Hey, this is Bill from Focus Lab. In the Debrief, we speak with clients and we ask them about their experiences going through a rebrand, the surprises, the challenges, what was most rewarding. And in the end, we always ask if you could sit down with somebody and tell them one thing that was the most important aspect that they should consider when going through a rebrand, what would it be? Here are their answers.
This is an investment.
It's a commitment.
Be clear about your goals.
Words really matter.
Haste absolutely makes waste.
Trust the process.
An act that you need to think about the time that you have to invest. Bill, as good as your team is, I feel like if the company that you're working with doesn't carve out the cycles needed to be able to make sure that they're including that feedback loop, it is so critically important.
This is a journey. I mean, rebranding is I feel like at the end of 13 weeks when we're like, okay, well, we've done this. It could have been even longer, but by the end of that period, it felt like we could probably still go 6 more weeks and still discover a lot of new things. So if you're trying to race through this process and, just solve it with a check, it's never going to work. It's got to be like all hands on deck. It demands a lot of attention. And, at the end of the day, I mean, you're going to get what you put into it.
Because what I've come to understand is that even though the core team might fully understand why it's time for a change in brand or an evolution of brand, it takes a while for other team members, your customers to get there, right? And so include people in on that journey and it'll be much more successful.
Being willing to commit the time, commit the energy, have those discussions that aren't always going to be seamless. That's really the advice that I would give, because, in order to end up with an outcome that you're really happy with, it still needs to kind of embody, what you want to see the brand being and those attributes that you define very early on and how you think that brand is going to scale and evolve. So it's not something where, Focus Lab or any branding agency you go with kind of goes behind the curtain and then comes back and is like, oh, here it is. We figured it out. Be willing to make that commitment. And, I'm sure that if you do, you'll be happy with the end result.
Warn people. Because I've done this a lot of times, and I would warn people if they're talking to agencies in your process. So if we're, using this time to help people learn from our successes and mistakes that I've made over the years, when you have an agency that says, hey, please introduce me to, X number of your customers and all these interviews, and you have to wait 6 or 8 weeks for them to come back with their findings, I won't ever do that again. Like it felt too disconnected. It felt like they were doing their work without me and my opinion, which, I should have one. I'm the CMO, and to help guide them as well. And so I think you really want to find someone that, is partnering with you throughout that journey. And it doesn't start with 8 weeks of research without your involvement.
It really helps the team understand where you're trying to go. Really, really lean into the words. If you lean into the words, then the visuals follow. But if you skip that piece, I think it's really, really hard to get to the right outcome. And that was, a really, really big learning for me and for other members on our team as well. And if I was giving advice to someone else going through the same project, I'd just really encourage them to focus on the words.
Look at this project, look at the rebrand effort as not, quote unquote, just a marketing effort, right? That doesn't do it justice. And I think it goes back to, how we developed our project team, that we made sure that we were hearing voices throughout the company and that they had a big seat at the table.
But as a client, when you're in good hands, you can trust the process, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. You can trust the process.